Welcome back to Earthy Goodness Kitchen. Today we're making indulgent chocolate brownies, but with a twist, as they're going to be super healthy. I don't think I've cooked anything sweet on the channel before, but we've just passed 1,000 subscribers, so I think we deserve a treat. But first, I want to say a massive thank you to anyone who's subscribed, whether this is your first video or you've been here from the start. But enough chit chat, grab an apron and let's get cooking. We're going to start these brownies by preheating the oven to 180 degrees Celsius. We're then going to melt the dark chocolate over a bain-marie. To create a bain-marie, we're going to heat up about 1.5 inches of water in a pan, and we're going to place a bowl on top with the chocolate in and slowly melt it. If you have a microwave, you can use it to melt your chocolate. Just make sure to give it a stir every 30 to 40 seconds to ensure it doesn't burn. Dark chocolate is full of antioxidants and it has more than green tea and red wine. Just make sure you get one that is at least 70% cocoa contents. Once your chocolate is perfectly melted and smooth, we're going to put it to the side to cool, and we're going to get started with the wet mix for the brownies. So in this recipe, we're going to be using black beans, which are super high in fiber, and also lots of essential nutrients like zinc, magnesium, and iron. Into a food processor, we're going to throw the black beans plus the beans cooking liquid or aquafaba, whatever you want to call it. Instead of using refined sugar in these brownies, we're going to be using some dates, which I've simply soaked in boiling water just to soften them up. You can also use any other dried fruits such as raisins or apricots, as long as you soak them in boiling water to make them nice and soft. I've simply drained the water from the dates, and these are going to go in with the black beans. Next, we've got some extra virgin olive oil. It's a great source of healthy fats and antioxidants. It also keeps the brownies moister for longer. You're welcome to use a more neutral flavored oil such as sunflower or rapeseed, but it won't be quite as healthy. Then in goes some oat milk or any plant milk of your choice. This is simply to make sure the brownies come out nice and fudgy. To add to the flavour of the brownies, we're going to add about a teaspoon of vanilla extract. We'll then blend all these ingredients for around 2 to 3 minutes until mostly smooth. Don't worry if there's a few little chunks of dates, these are just going to be tasty surprises in the brownie. By blending up the mixture a little bit longer than you might think to, this is going to whip up the aquafaba or the bean juice and create a really thick, creamy wet mixture. And that in turn is going to create a nice fudgy brownie. While it's blending, scrape down the sides to ensure you've got all the ingredients blended up. This is what it should look like when it's done. Once again, don't worry if it's a few little chunks. We'll now start the dry mix for the brownies, starting with some wholemeal flour, which is a little bit more nutrient dense and higher in fiber than just plain white flour. As well as using flour in these brownies, I'm also using some ground almonds, which are high in unsaturated fats and magnesium, which is essential for turning food into energy, which you could say is quite important. You could use other ground nuts such as walnuts or cashews, but ground almonds are the most common ones you get in the supermarkets. In go your ground almonds or any ground nut of your choice. We're then going to add some cocoa powder and some instant coffee. Cocoa powder is just like the dark chocolate with the health benefits, just make sure to get a relatively high quality one if possible, and also one without any added sugar. The instant coffee goes amazingly well with the chocolate, but it is completely optional. Finally, a little pinch of sea salt, which just brings out all the flavours of the brownie. We'll then give the dry mix a quick whisk to combine all the ingredients. This whisk is a little bit small. Aha, there we go, well, that's a bit better. We can now pour the wet mix into the dry ingredients plus the melted chocolate that we prepared earlier. I'm going to use a spatula to get everything out of the mixer as we don't want any wastage. We'll then combine the two mixes with a spatula. I like to use a figure of 8 motion to gently incorporate the flour into the wet mix. You don't want to beat this mixture too hard or else you're going to develop the gluten and that's going to create a tough brownie, which is definitely not what we want. We want a nice fudgy brownie, so gently combine them until you've got no streaks of flour left. I'm going to be using a circular tin for these brownies simply because that's just what I have. So I'm going to make a cartouche out of baking paper, and you'll see what I mean by this in a quick second. You're going to start with a square piece of baking paper. You're then going to fold one corner to the opposite corner to create a large triangle. You'll then fold that triangle in half and then keep folding it in half until you have a really small triangle. Then simply cut off the end and unfold your cartouche, and you're going to have a perfect circle piece of baking paper. Spread a little oil around your tin and place in the parchment paper. This is going to ensure the brownie doesn't stick. I've also got a tin with a bottom that comes up, which is really helpful. Get all your brownie mix out of the bowl, leaving a little bit in there to taste, of course. We're then going to spread it evenly around the tin with the back of a spoon. I had a little bit of chocolate left over, so I'm going to finely chop it into little chunks and sprinkle it over the brownie, followed by the raspberries. I love to use berries in my brownies as they add a lovely tart flavour that contrasts with the sweet chocolate. I tend to use frozen ones as they're a bit cheaper. Just make sure you defrost them before using them, as they'll affect the cooking time of the brownie. I'm going to be using raspberries in these brownies, but you could use any berry you like, such as strawberries or cherries. They would both work really well. I like to then pat down the raspberries in the chocolate so they're properly sunken into the brownie mix. In hindsight, I probably would have mixed half the raspberries and the chocolate chips through the mix and then done half on top, so you're welcome to do that. We'll then get the brownie into the oven for around 25 to 35 minutes. It very much depends on how hot your oven runs. I've got quite an old oven, so it's a bit cold. and it took around 35 minutes. When you stick a toothpick into the brownie, you don't want it to be bone dry, but you also don't want it to have wet mix on it. You want it to just have a few little crumbs on it. You may be excited to dig into your brownies, but you should really let them cool for around 20 to 30 minutes, or else it's going to be a hot, sticky mess when you go to cut them. You've now got beautiful, rich, fudgy and indulgent brownies, which are also healthy-ish. It's my favourite part of the video now. We get to taste this delicious, rich chocolate brownie, but first, I feel like it needs something. That's better. Let's dig in. Oh, that's so good. You would have no idea that this is vegan and that it has olive oil, black beans and other nutritious ingredients in it. It just tastes like a standard brownie. It's chocolatey, fudgy, indulgent, and raspberry really helps cut through the sort of richness of it, so I'd definitely recommend putting some berries in there. It's quite a full-on rich brownie, so I wouldn't make the portion sizes too big. Keep them nice and small, and you can just have it as a really nice, somewhat healthy treat every now and again. Okay, that is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please do subscribe if you're new to the channel, and also a massive thank you for 1,000 subscribers, and I'll see you in a video very soon. Bye bye. Looking for some more plant-based goodness? Check out this video.